to admire, 'cause you shine on something like a mirror, and I can't help but notice you reflect in this heart of mine. If you ever feel alone and the glare makes me hard to find, just know that I'm always very loud on the other side. 'Cause with your hand in my hand and a pocket full of soul, I can tell you there's no place we couldn't go. Just put your hand on the past, I'll be trying to pull you through. You just gotta be strong. I don't wanna lose you now. I'm looking right at the other half of me. The biggest thing that's set in my heart is a space, and now you're home. Show me how to fight for now, and I'll tell you, baby, it was easy coming back into you once I figured it out. You were right here all alone.
Hello, Austin! How are we doing tonight? Are we ready to send Greg Abbott packing out of that mansion? Let's get him fired and let's start this tonight because we're all fired up. Are we ready? All right. I'm Diana Gomez. I'm the Advocacy Director at Progress Texas and your MC for tonight. I am so excited to be here, especially because, you know, it's not Halloween yet, but Republicans are already scared. They are haunted at the fact that Democrats are outraising them. Democrats are inching in neck and neck in all the polls. And we're about to fire all of them. Now we're going to do that when we turn out this November in record numbers. Are we all ready to do that? All right. Now before we start, I wanted to acknowledge some special guests that we have here tonight. We have Mayor Steve Adler in the house, along with County Judge Andy Brown, Lucy Baines Johnson, we have candidate for House District 51, Democrat Lulu Flores, City Council Member Ann Kitchen, candidate for City Council District 9, Zoe Kadri. We have candidate for Congressional District 35, Greg Kassar. Mayor Pro Tem Nicole Thompson. Candidate for Third Court of Appeals, Rosa Theophanis. President of the Texas Civil Rights Project, Mimi Marziani. Representative Donna Howard. Representative Cheryl Cole. Representative Gina Hinojosa. Representative Celia Israel. Senator Sarah Eckhart. Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis. Executive Director of an amazing organization, Equality Texas, Ricardo Martinez. We also have Colby Duhan from Young Democrats of America. And the amazing Cecile Richards. Now, we'll hear from Cecile later, but to start us off, I wanted to introduce the amazing Reverend Daryl Horton.
Good evening, everyone. If you would, we want to begin tonight in prayer. If you would, bow your heads with us on tonight. Most gracious God, our Father, we call upon your name tonight, asking for your blessings, thanking you for your grace and your mercy. We also want to take a moment tonight to ask for your compassion and comfort for our families in Uvalde, that you would continue to allow them to heal as they continue to move forward, knowing that their loss has been great. We pray tonight for Mr. Beto O'Rourke. We ask that you would keep him and strengthen him, that you would give him wisdom and guidance that only comes from you. We pray for every person who runs for elected office, that they would surround themselves with people who will lead them and guide them to do the best for the people that they have committed to serve. And then, God, we pray for every voter that you would allow us to go to the polls in great numbers and vote our convictions so that people will be in office who love your people and who will serve this great state of Texas. We pray all of these things in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Now we have an amazing slate of statewide candidates. They're going to speak to y'all tonight. And I'm excited to start with a candidate who is the youngest Democrat to run for a statewide office in over 30 years. Our future Railroad Commissioner, Luke Warford.
Who's ready to elect Beto O'Rourke as the next governor of the state of Texas? Me too. My name is Luke Warford, and I am your Democratic nominee for the Texas Railroad Commission. Now, many of y'all know that the Railroad Commission has nothing to do with trains. And that what it actually does is it regulates the Texas oil and gas industry, making it one of the most important elected offices in our state for our environment, our economy, and our ability to keep the lights on. Now, as a show of hands, how many of y'all lost power or know somebody who did during last February's winter storm? And what was that like? You can shout it out. Nightmare, cold. Yeah, me too. I'm an Austin resident, and it got down to 38 degrees inside my apartment in 2021 in the energy capital of the world. And the reason I'm running for the Texas Railroad Commission is because the Railroad Commission could have prevented what happened last February, except we've got commissioners who are so bought and paid for by the people they are supposed to regulate that they don't care enough to do their jobs. Now, as Diana said, I'm 33 years old. I'm the youngest Democrat to run statewide in more than 30 years. And I'm running because the issues that are at stake in this race are too important to wait. It's not just the grid failure. It's the fact that Texas is the largest greenhouse gas emitter in the United States because the Texas Railroad Commission can't be bothered to enforce the rules. It's because of the fact that Texans are paying more for utilities than our neighbors in Louisiana and Oklahoma and Arkansas, because the Texas Railroad Commission is protecting pipeline monopoly profits and passing the costs on to the rest of you. Well, I've had enough of it. So we're running the best Texas Railroad Commission race that has been run in a generation, and we're going to win this November. And not only are we going to win the Texas Railroad Commission, we are going to win the governor and the lieutenant governor and the attorney general and the comptroller and the land commissioner and the ag commissioner. Thank you all for being here. We've got 63 days. Let's do this.
All right, up next we have An amazing woman who has spent her entire career holding government and government officials accountable. We need that. Our future Comptroller, Janet Dudding.
Howdy, Alston. I'm your nominee for Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, which is the state's accountant. And do you realize that we've never had an accountant as our state accountant? Y'all, it shows. I am a certified public accountant. But I'm a different kind of CPA. My first job out of school was actually investigating allegations that elected officials had embezzled taxpayer money or had taken kickbacks. I spent the last 35 years, longer than Luke's been alive, auditing, accounting for, and even investigating state and local governments, state and local governmental officials to hold government accountable to people as opposed to special interests. And y'all, that's the kind of qualifications we need in our comptroller. Texas needs a watchdog, and we got ourselves a lapdog. Y'all, it matters. It matters when Greg Abbott wants to let no-bid contracts along the Texas border. In that border stunt, which, by the way, crippled the U.S. economy and is costing us, what, billions of dollars, millions of dollars a day? It was current comptroller Glenn Hager who let him do it. It matters when corporations exploit property tax loopholes and stick us with the bill. It's Glenn Hager who lets them do it. And his latest stunt, he's trying to void his fiduciary responsibility over pension funds. Our Texas teachers haven't had a COLA in almost 2 decades, and this guy is wasting $500 million to punish companies that diversify their energy portfolio. Texas can't afford Glenn Hager. But y'all, we don't have to put up with this. We have it within our power to make a difference. All we have to do is vote the bums out and vote for the best ticket that we've had in the last 2 decades. And y'all, what a ticket from Beto O'Rourke as our next governor to Mike Collier, another CPA, as our lieutenant governor, Rochelle Garza as our attorney general, me as your comptroller, Jay Clayburgh as land commissioner, Susan Hayes as ag commissioner, and Luke Warford as railroad commissioner. We got a hell of a ticket, y'all. Let's get this done.
Up next is another amazing woman whose family has been ranching out in West Texas ever since the end of the Civil War, and who is a co-founder of a reproductive justice organization called Jane's Due Process. Please welcome our future Ag Commissioner, Susan Hayes.
Thank you. I'm Susan Hayes, your candidate for Ag Commissioner. I have spent my career working on reproductive rights, founding Jane's Due Process, voting rights, representing Harris County in the 2020 election cycle when the Republicans sued them every time they tried to make it easier and safer to vote. And now I'm a cannabis lawyer. I helped draft and pass the law that legalized hemp in Texas. Woo! And we're going to legalize marijuana when we all get elected. And it was that experience working with the Ag Commission on the hemp bill that made me want to run for this office. The incumbent, Sid Miller, is so bad that even Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick won't speak to him. And I watched with my own eyes just the open graft and corruption, and that really pissed me off. Because I grew up in rural Texas. I saw the missed opportunity for this state. The corruption that is going on now is beyond the pay-to-play corruption, which is so bad even the lobbyists are complaining about it. It's also that kind of soft corruption that they don't care to do the job. All they do is look at the polls, see what's going to get them elected in the next Republican primary, and they literally don't care if anything works. not the grid, not our healthcare system, and they do not care who they hurt or who they kill. Not during the pandemic, not during the freeze, and not in our schools. We have got to win this election all the way down. And one thing I love about this ticket is we all like each other. We can hardly wait to get in there and collaborate and change this state for the better, bring it back to the days when the government worked for the people instead of the politicians. So, thank you all.
Up next, we have another amazing candidate, an amazing Latina. And she's not only amazing because she will definitely beat Ken Paxton this fall. A man facing fraud charges and FBI investigations. But she's also an amazing attorney who's taken on the Trump administration and won. Please help me welcome our next Attorney General, Rochelle Garza.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing tonight? Are you fired up? Are we going to win some elections this November? Hell yeah. I'm Rochelle Garza. I am your Democratic nominee for Texas Attorney General. I'm the first Latina to ever be nominated to this position. And when I win in November, when we win in November, I will be the first woman and first Latina to ever serve in this role. And it's about time. It's about damn time. I am from the Rio Grande Valley. Shout out to my valley, folks. I'm a fifth generation Tejana. I'm a civil rights lawyer, and I'm a mom to a 5-month-old baby. I'm running against Ken Paxton. I think y'all know who he is. Ken Paxton has never seen a crime he does not want to commit. And that's because he doesn't believe the law applies to him. That's how he came to be under indictment for more than 7 years for securities fraud, for specifically tricking his own clients. If he does that to his own clients, how do you think he treats Texas? He is under investigation by the FBI for bribery and abuse of office. He is also at risk of losing his law license because he tried to overturn the 2020 election. And he's making Texas taxpayers foot the bill for defending his law license. So this is the person we have in office right now. But I have great news. We are within 2 points of unseating Ken Paxton. We are going to get this done for the people of Texas, for our families, for our children, for reproductive rights. The fight for reproductive justice is not new to me. I fought the Trump administration, Ken Paxton, and Brett Kavanaugh, and I've won. And we're going to win in November. We are going to bring this office back to the people of Texas. This will be the people's lawyer's office. That means fighting for voting rights, civil rights, your reproductive justice, making sure we have accountability for what happened with the power grid failure. Because we all know someone, if it wasn't ourselves, we all know someone who lost power and lost a loved one. And that's not who we are. We need to have people held accountable. And that's what I plan to do with this office. And I will answer to you, the people. So thank you all so much. Make sure you vote up and down the ballot. We have absolutely incredible people that are running. And we're going to elect Beto O'Rourke as our governor. So we're going to get this done. Thank you guys so much.
All right, y'all. Our next candidate is so popular. He's so popular. He's raking in those Republican endorsements left and right. Because all these Republicans would prefer him so much more to Dan Patrick. Please welcome our popular future Lieutenant Governor, Mike Collier.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me ask you, does anybody in this crowd cherish democracy? Right. Do you love freedom? Do you stand for justice? Well, then I must be in the company of Democrats. Hello, Texas Democrats. I am so honored to be here. My name is Mike Collier, and my job is to kick Dan Patrick's ass. Do you agree? He's got to go. I've been working on this a long time, 9 years, but I'll tell you what, you'd do it too if it meant that you had a chance to meet and get to know Beto O'Rourke. You'd do it. And to meet Carl Lewis, the fastest man in the world. I met him tonight. How can you lose with Carl Lewis helping us? Now, I'm not going to talk about El Diablo. Nobody likes El Diablo, Dan Patrick. But just close your eyes and imagine what happens when the next lieutenant governor is a Democrat. We're going to have great schools for all of our young people, right? And we're going to stop getting ripped off on property taxes. Are you with me? And criminal justice reform, because we need it. Restorative justice, I say, right? And we're going to expand Medicaid. Are you there? What have I left out? Oh, yeah. We got to fix the damn grid. Right? So this is so important. But remember one thing. This is our most election. Democrats must answer the call. We must answer the call to win this thing, because we are fighting for our rights, our right to vote. Do you agree? And to have your vote count, right? And for the LGBT community, the right to live and love as you wish in freedom. And the right for women to make the decision that only they can make about their health care and their destiny. As your lieutenant governor, we'll do a lot, but we'll lead the legislature to make sure that we restore women's rights. And I will take that bill and walk it over to the governor's mansion and see my friend Beto O'Rourke, who will sign it into law and make it the law of the land. We'll do that now. And then Rochelle Garza will make sure that the laws, all of them, work for us. This is a wonderful time to be a Democrat. We've got about 65 days. Let's work it and let's win it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now I'm so honored to introduce our next speaker. She is an activist, an icon, a legend, a former president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Please welcome Cecile Richards.
Thank you. Hey, Austin. It's good to be back. Woo! Never looked so good. Thank you. Thanks. So, it's good to be home. It's good to be home. And what an incredible group of folks that are going to run this state. It's amazing. Okay, I'm kind of rusty, so I had to bring my notes. Some of y'all, just bear with me a minute. So, hey, Celia, this was for you. So about 32 years ago, we were in the middle of this upstart, long shot campaign to take back the Capitol and state government for the people of the state of Texas, right? And we were the underdog for sure. But our cause was righteous, right? Our cause was righteous. But for too many years, state government had ignored the people of Texas, and folks weren't represented Does it sound familiar to you at all? Yeah. And actually, it's just about 32 years ago tonight. We were over at the old Opry House. Some of y'all may remember in South Austin. Yeah, and Willie Nelson was playing, right? That sounds familiar. And we were getting ourselves ready for that last sprint. And as I tell Beto, we were outspent for sure, right? We never had a poll showing us winning. But by God, we never gave up. And we were determined because we knew, and you know, the only poll that matters is on Election Day when the voters of Texas show up and say who they want to run their state, right? And we're going to do it again this November 6th, okay? I mean, what happened in 1990 was what I see out here tonight. It was farm workers, it was teachers, it was LGBTQ activists, it was moms, it was dads, it was folks from East Texas and West Texas and South Texas and Central Texas that came together to elect Ann Richards, a progressive woman governor of the state of Texas. And I'm telling you, from mom's mouth to me, I will tell you, November 8th, we are going to elect Beto O'Rourke governor of this state of Texas. It's going to happen. But I think it's important before we, just get all excited. We got work to do, my friends, right? Because the people in power that have now tried to take away our right to vote, the right to make our own fundamental rights about decisions about our bodies and our pregnancies, the people who don't want to give up power to anyone, they aren't going to give up without a fight. And Greg Abbott and his millions and millions of dollars are going to spend the next many weeks trying to tell us some other story about Beto O'Rourke, the man that we know and that we love. And I'm just saying right now, don't believe it, don't fall for it, and don't let your friends fall for it either. Because Greg Abbott doesn't have a single good thing to say about himself or the job he's done for nearly 8 years in the state of Texas. I'm just going to end with this one quote. So Sam Rayburn, famous Texas congressman, said, any jackass can kick down a barn, but it takes a good carpenter to build one. Am I right? Am I right? And you know who our carpenter is? It's Beto O'Rourke, right? He is our carpenter. So, in these next weeks, we got doors to knock on, right? We got folks to phone. We got people to register. And on election day, we got millions of people that we're going to turn out to vote. And when we do, we're going to elect the man I am so honored to be here to introduce tonight. We're going to elect Beto O'Rourke, the next governor of the state of Texas. Thank you, Beto. Thank you.
All right, Austin, how are we doing? It makes me so hopeful to be with Cecile Richards, Lucy Baines Johnson, these extraordinary statewide candidates who are going to win every single one of these positions of public trust that we're counting on them for right now. Am I right? It makes me so hopeful to see how you have chosen to meet the moment. You can be forgiven if you have been tempted to despair. It's been a very dark time in the state of Texas. But you have not succumbed to the fear or to the hatred, to the intolerance, to the corruption, to the cruelty, to the incompetence that has defined not the people of Texas, but those who purport to serve and represent them in the highest positions of power. You realize, including the dogs who are here as well, every time that dog barks, another Texas voter is getting registered, right? So just know that. You realize that we are in the fight of our lives, that we are literally fighting for the lives of our fellow Texans. They're depending on us, none more so than these children who do not have a vote or a voice but through us and our actions in this election. And we cannot, on their behalf, be found wanting. We're in the fight of our lives, and we are fighting like hell, and we are going to win this election on the night of November 8th. We're going to win because we are fighting for every Texas woman to make her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. We're going to win because we place the lives of our children ahead of the NRA, the gun lobby, or any position of public trust or power held by Greg Abbott or anybody else right now. We're going to win because we're going to make sure that those school teachers, counselors, and librarians are treated with the respect and the dignity that they deserve, that they've earned, that we owe them, and that we are literally going to pay them when we win this election. And we're going to win because we believe in this great democracy, the exception, not the rule, over the course of human history. Even on the planet today, what we do together sets us apart from so much of the rest of the world, still provides, as imperfect as we may be, the necessary inspiration for the world, what Lincoln called the last best hope. And nowhere is it under greater attack than right now in Greg Abbott's Texas. That election bill that we all mightily fought against, that these extraordinary state representatives were willing to walk out from the floor of the House, risk arrest, potentially losing their jobs in order to protect our right to vote and choose the person who will represent and serve us free of obstruction, without intimidation or suppression. Despite their best efforts, Abbott signs into law the worst voter suppression bill in Texas history, going back at least to 1965, when Lucy Bain's father signed into law the Voting Rights Act that created the first true multiracial democracy in American history. That's what we're fighting for today. And we don't care, no me importa, if you're a Republican. In fact, if you're a Republican and you're here, we're glad you came. Democrats, you are welcomed as well. Independents, this is your home. All that we care about is that you're able to freely and fairly choose those who will serve us in these positions of public trust. 246 years, más o menos, we've been able to get this right, but we now face the greatest attack on this democracy in the course of our life. You might have to go back to the middle of the 19th century to find a fight as important as this one. But let me lay this on you. On the one hand, that can get us down, and we may even be tempted to succumb or to submit to the status quo. On the other hand, think about this. When Lyndon Baines Johnson rallied the members of Congress in March of 1965, a week removed from when a 24-year-old John Lewis took his life in his hands and attempted to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, and therefore conferred the power of the people on the President of the United States, he compared Lewis's actions on that day to those who fought for this democracy in Concord, who settled our differences in the Civil War at Appomattox, and said those in Selma in 1965 are not unlike those in 1776 or 1865. I say this. Those of us today here in the state of Texas who have chosen to come together and meet this moment with everything that we have are not unlike those who have preceded us. We are so fortunate and so lucky to be the generation that actually has the opportunity to fight for and win this democracy at its moment of greatest peril. And that's what we're going to do. And when we win this election, we're going to make sure that it's easy to get on the rolls. If you're an eligible voter, it's easy to vote same day. An automatic voter registration. The ability to register online. Wouldn't that be amazing? Almost every other state does it. These 750 polling place closures, twice the number as the next closest state, and most of those closures concentrated in the fastest growing Black and brown neighborhoods in the state of Texas. When you see that line 6 hours deep outside of Texas Southern University, and part of you swells with pride thinking, Jesus, these folks are willing to wait 6 hours in order to participate in this election. My hat's off to them. But then it's overcome by the shame that you feel that we force anyone to suffer this indignity in their very own democracy. We have an answer to that. We win this election. We reopen those polling places. We replace Confederate Heroes Day as a state holiday with Election Day as a state holiday so that you can freely and fairly vote and get some time off work in order to do that. We're going to win this election. We're going to win this election because we are running against Greg Abbott. You could not make this guy up. Let me give it to you by the numbers. It's been 12 days since Greg Abbott's trigger law went into effect, completely banning abortion with no exception for rape, no exception for incest, in a state that right now has one of the highest levels of maternal mortality in the developed world, 3 times as deadly for black women as it is for white women in the state of Texas today. What he has done, I guarantee you, will cost the lives of the women of this state. And for those of you who may be concerned that Greg Abbott is going to force women to carry the children of their rapists, he doesn't want you to worry. He's going to eliminate rape in the state of Texas. He promised us. But I want to share with you by the numbers again, more rapes have been committed in this state under Greg Abbott's watch than any other. Our ability to bring perpetrators to justice has declined by half over the last 7.5 years. And not too far from where we sit or stand today at DPS headquarters right here in Austin, there are 3,000 rape kits collecting dust on the shelves, untested because he does not prioritize the heartbeats, the lives, the women of this state today. We have an answer to that. Imagine if, for the first time since the all-time great Ann Richards won in 1990, we elect a bold, pro-choice Democrat to be governor, to be lieutenant governor, to be attorney general, every position up and down the ballot, from justice of the peace to governor. We are going to get that done. I want to recognize 2 more people amongst all the very important people and elected officials who are here. I would like to ask Manuel and Julissa to please stand up for just a moment. I think they're right here, if you don't mind. They are the aunt and uncle, the godmother and godfather to Jacqueline Casares, who on this day, 15 weeks ago, was killed along with her 18 classmates and her 2 classroom teachers. Manuel and Julissa are here today not to cheer on a Democrat or to be here for a certain person running for a certain office. They are here in her memory to take the action necessary to ensure that no other family has to go through what they have been through. We must follow their lead, be inspired by their example, and do everything that we can at this defining moment of truth to come through for the Casares family and the people of Uvalde. Are you all with me? And are you with this family today? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. We are with you. We are with the people of Uvalde. We are listening to them, and we are following their lead. But you must know, and we must share with our friends and family and colleagues and classmates, the people we know across the state of Texas, that 15 weeks ago, we watched as the governor in Abilene, Texas, at a press conference, at that time only knew that 14 children had lost their lives. Read the news to the people of Texas, then faced a decision. He could travel to Uvalde, directly south from where he was in Abilene, or he could go to a fundraiser 300 miles in the opposite direction. Greg Abbott went to that fundraiser the night of that massacre, and then the next day shows up in the community of Uvalde, and the first thing the most powerful man in this state has to say to those families is, it could have been worse. In the 15 weeks since then, your children, as have mine and Amy's, have started the next school year. And in those 15 weeks, this governor has done not a thing to make sure that your children or mine will meet the same fate as those children in Uvalde did 15 weeks ago. A governor who called a special session to go after transgender children. A governor who called a special session to go after educators through CRT. A governor who called special session after special session to weaken our very democracy and undermine the right to vote, could not be bothered to call a special session and to bring Republicans and Democrats and Texans around the table to make sure that we do the right thing for those who are counting on us and cannot do it for themselves. Let me tell you this. When we win, we are bringing those legislators around the table. We will find that common ground. And yes, it includes, at a minimum, raising the age of purchase for an AR-15 or AK-47 to 21 years old. It means a red flag law so that we can intervene before it's too late and these children are shot. And it means a universal background check on every firearms purchase in the state of Texas. There's no reason that this slaughter has to be our future, our fortune, our fate. We are made of better stuff than this. The inaction that you see today, governor who is more interested in serving the NRA, the gun lobby, the fringe of his own party than the very children of this state, is not reflective of us or our values. And it doesn't matter the differences between us. I'm talking all Texans, Republicans, independents, Democrats alike, people who can't vote, don't vote, won't vote. It's all of us, and we must come through right now. I've been in Uvalde. I spoke to those parents and some of those teachers today on the first day that they are returning to school, knowing full well that not a single thing has changed to protect them or their kids. I tell you, they are counting on us right now. And as Cecile said, we are not going to win this out of inertia, or because we have the best ideas, or because we like these candidates up here, or because we're Democrats. We're going to win this through the power of people. And as you think about Julissa and Manuel willing to be here through their grief and the suffering of those parents, and nonetheless they're testifying at the Capitol in Austin, they're testifying in Washington, D.C., they're leading marches here and back in Uvalde. Let us think about what we are willing to do, and how we will face ourselves, our maker, or our conscience, which in my case happens to be my 3 kids, 15, 14, 11 years old. Their eyes are on us right now. Are we going to come through for them? Are we going to win this election? Are we going to make sure that we do the right thing at the right time for the people who are counting on us? I know that we will. Thank you both for being here. It has been 18 months since the man in the highest position of power was unable to keep the power flowing to the people that he purported to serve. Over not just minutes or hours, but days, you were without light, you were without heat, because your pipes froze, you were without water. 700 Texans that we know of lost their lives. An 11-year-old boy in Conroe, Texas, his mom could not pile enough blankets on his shivering body, and he froze to death in the energy capital of the world. A 75-year-old Vietnam-era veteran who willingly and fought a war that this country never understood, came back to one that didn't shower him with a ticker tape parade or thank you for your service. At best, he got shrugs of indifference, but nonetheless put his head down, got after it, raised his family, worked that job, made his community better. They found him dead in his truck where he was trying to charge his oxygen tank because the power was no longer on in his household. Families who burned up together as their parents lit their furniture on fire, literally just trying to stay warm. That is Greg Abbott. And while that was happening, he ordered the PUC to peg the price of electricity at its highest allowable limit. Gas soon began trading at 200 times the going rate. Some utilities went into bankruptcy. Others took billions of dollars in debt. Those energy traders, those pipeline corporations made $11 billion in illegal profit over the course of 5 days off the backs of suffering Texans. You think Greg Abbott has lifted a finger to try to get that money back for us? Not only has he not, but he's stuck you and me and every other ratepayer with the bill. On average, our bills have gone up $45 per month per household. You compound that with $20 billion increase in property taxes. Greg Abbott today is the greatest driver of inflation in the state of Texas. But there's an answer to that. We win this election. We weatherize the grid. We connect ERCOT to the national grid so we can pull down power when we need it. And we take those bastards to court and get our $11 billion back and return it to the people of Texas. My last number is this one. It has been almost 8 years. 8 years since Greg Abbott entered the highest office in this land. Over those 8 years, we have sunk to the least insured state in America. We now rank 51st behind every other state and the District of Columbia in the ability to see a mental health care provider. Our largest provider today of those services, the county jail system. I have met the family members of so many Texans who have untreated schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, clinical depression, who do not qualify for Medicaid, do not earn enough to afford private insurance, are out on their own, get arrested on purpose to be taken to the one place where they are guaranteed any kind of care, no matter how insufficient. And you and I, once again under Greg Abbott, end up picking up the bill, $120 a night to keep someone locked up for that kind of care. You know, the same year that President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed into law the Voting Rights Act, he signed another important piece of legislation into law, and that was Medicaid. We invented the program that ensured that you could not be too unlucky or too poor to be well enough or healthy enough to finish your education, to work that job, to raise your family, to live up to your full potential, to reveal your genius to the benefit of all of us. And there's a deal on the table today. Our Lieutenant Governor just talked about what he's going to do to get it passed. It says Washington, D.C. will send back $10 billion of our own federal income taxes that we've paid to allow us to hire more providers, to connect more people with care, to stand up some of these closed hospitals that have fallen on Greg Abbott's watch. And in addition, and the kicker is, we'll lower your property taxes in the bargain, because right now you're on the hook for uncompensated indigent care. When we win this election, we're making up for Greg Abbott's mistakes. We are expanding Medicaid and making sure that every Texan gets the health care that they need, that they deserve, and will allow them to live to their best. Almost 8 years, at the very beginning of his first term, the governor was warned about the deplorable state of child protective services. 32,000 kids, foster children, who have been removed from their homes, who are as vulnerable as a human being can be, as I imagine. 100 of them lost their lives just since the year 2020. Hundreds more have been trafficked, have been raped, pictures of their naked bodies sold online for profit, as this governor puts them into private, profit-based care. He was warned 7 years ago that kids who emerge from this program are more damaged than when they went in. He was told by the same federal judge, Judge Janice Jack, in January, that problem has gone from bad to worse. We must, again, thinking about our conscience and the judgment of our children, we must do better for the most vulnerable among us. We must elevate these children in the foster care program. We must ensure that the underlying causes that force so many of them into CPS custody are addressed. How about moving minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour? How about universal all-day pre-K so that parents can finish their education and work that job and those kids are learning to read? What about paid family leave, making sure that you can take some time off to be okay? We do that, expand access to health care. I tell you what, we'll do what so many foster parents have argued that we should be doing. We can't just foster the kid. We must foster the family. Last thing that I want to say, over these 8 years, because you're going to hear it loud from the governor over the next 2 months, and that is the border and this invasion and these animals and this infestation, to use the words that Donald Trump used about our fellow human beings. He's going to want to scare you about people who are trying to come here to work, very often jobs that no one born in this state is willing to work. He's going to try to scare you about people who are trying to join their family members, as you or I would want to join our family members if we were separated. He's going to try to scare you about those who seek asylum or refuge in a country that is largely comprised of asylum seekers and refugees, whether it was the O'Rourkes in the 19th century fleeing famine in Ireland that would have killed us if we stayed, or those who are leaving Honduras and Guatemala or El Salvador today. We are going to replace his stunts of busing migrants to Chicago and Washington, D.C., and New York City, building 1.5 miles of wall, or involuntarily activating 10,000 members of the Guard for a 1-year deployment where 8 of them so far have lost their lives. We're going to replace those stunts with real solutions and ensure that if you want to come to this country and do better for yourself and do better for all of us, there is a safe, legal, orderly path for you to do that. You want to come here, you follow our laws, but we'll make sure that our laws reflect our values, our needs, and the reality here on the ground. We want a Texas of world-class public schools, a Texas where you can see a physician, fill a prescription, take your child to a mental health care provider, a Texas where the best jobs in the nation are created right here, and you only have to work one of them instead of 2 or 3 in order to make ends meet. Find me the Republican who's going to argue the point on these issues at a time of historic division and polarization, being defined by our differences instead of the common ground between us. We are going to unify this state, and we're going to do it together. The last thing I promise, there are a number of people in yellow reflective vests who are here with us tonight. They don't need to fix the roads because Mayor Adler and the city council are doing such a great job. But they have clipboards with shifts that have already been set up to knock on the doors of those Texans who are going to decide the outcome of this election. Now, in 2020, there were 7 million eligible Texans who did not cast a ballot. They're not lazy. They don't lack any love for this democracy. But when you've made it harder to register and cast a ballot here than anywhere else, then we can begin to understand why they haven't participated before. In fact, when asked why they haven't voted, eligible non-voters say, "No one asked me." I want you to join the 83,000 other volunteers from this campaign to go knock on the doors of the very people who were the targets of suppression and intimidation. And if you're willing to do that work, not easy, right? You're going to be sweating through your shirt, through your pants, through your shoes. You're going to meet some people who aren't excited to see you, others who are waiting for you to arrive. But in every instance, I promise you, you'll make a difference that no television ad, no piece of direct mail, no clever tweet could ever do. Human being to human being, face to face, eyeball to eyeball, find me something more powerful on the planet today. It is you. You sign up, and we will make those targets of suppression and intimidation the margin of victory when we win this thing on the night of November 8th. You with me on this? You all ready to win? You ready to elect this amazing slate of Democrats up and down the ballot? Will you do the work to get it done? I will as well. Thank you so much. Les agradezco. Muchísimas gracias. We will see you the next time we're here, Austin, and we'll stick around for a while to say hello and take some pictures. Thank you, thank you, thank you.